So a lot of people really seem to like my breakdown of my approach to build crafting in the Armor 3.0 system. And I wanted to go ahead and follow up that video with 5 more websites or tips and tricks, that sort of thing, to make your life even easier as you start your Armor 3.0 journey. I just want to say thank you guys for all the support on that video. If you did enjoy it and you're looking forward to like more Armor 3.0 breakdowns, I have tons of stuff planned, so make sure you subscribe if you're interested in that sort of content. But let's just go ahead and jump into this. So as I mentioned in the last video, I really like the tier 5 armor system in Armor 3.0 because it's very complex to start. There's like a learning curve, but once you get past that, it is super deterministic and you're able to theory craft and build craft very easily compared to the previous system, because tier 5 armor will always have a set number of stats and things always behave exactly the same. The only things that make it kind of difficult are the exotics that you can farm for and put in different builds. Now, as I mentioned in the last video, at the time there weren't any good tools for being like, man, I really want like this sort of stat distribution. How do I get that? But since that video, a couple people have reached out to me and have shown me tools that they have made. So the first one was actually made by my friend Wabi. The second one was made by Brandon over on Twitter. And both of these sites like do really cool stuff. They have the same end goal, but I think they both do different things very well. So that's something I want to really explore in this video. So, for instance, if I'm making a prismatic warlock build, and let's say I'm using these fragments that give me minus 10 melee, minus 10 grenade, plus 10 melee, plus 10 grenade. So that's a wash. So I don't have to worry about any stat points allocated from those fragments. But then I really want like a bunch of melee because this is a lightning surge build. So I definitely want a lot of melee. A lot of times here I'm running like Nova Bomb or Song of Flame. So I definitely want like a lot of super as well. So I'm getting that back as quickly as possible. And then a lot of weapons because I just like to have a lot of weapons on my general running builds. If I'm just looking for that, I can use these sites to then tell me what armor to farm for. So let's use Wabi's first. I'll have everything linked down below in the pinned comment, by the way. But as I mentioned before, in PvP, or in PvE rather, I do not like the health stat. And the cool thing about Wabi's website is it lets you set ranges for things. So I want my health stat like squarely somewhere between like 0 and 25. 25 is the lowest you can have it without stat tuning mods. So that's the lowest I want this. I do not want any extra stats in the health stat because I do consider it kind of a waste in PvE. This is a melee build, so I want somewhere between like 100 and 200. Super, as I mentioned, around 100 and 200. Weapons, around 100 and 200. And then for my general abilities on like my running builds or like my mechanics builds, I just want to keep them at like 70, somewhere floating around. So you want to kind of leave these as open as possible to generate the best combinations. You don't want to constrain it too much. And then there's a couple other things that Wabi's website allows you to do. You could force like one armor piece. So as I mentioned in my other video, my approach for a lot of this is, let's say for like Solar Warlock, there's a billion exotics you could use. So I prefer to build out in all legendaries first and then slot in exotics after the fact. It just makes it easier. That way you have one set of armor for every exotic instead of like having to build around every specific exotic that you have. It's just an easier approach for me. Now, on things like Prismatic Warlock, you're really only ever probably going to be using the exotic class item. So in that case, it makes sense to build around the class item, especially because the exotic class items have like set stat distributions as well. But if, let's just say you really like PvP for Warlock, and it's like, okay, the only exotic I'm ever going to use in PvP are my Ophidian aspects, then it makes sense to like build around that specifically, right? So you can enable that sort of thing on this website, and exotics always have 30, 20, 13 as well, so or they generally do, so you can force that. Then you can also do custom fragments or fonts. So as I mentioned, I have plus 10 melee and grenade, and then minus 10 melee and grenade, so I don't actually need to use these. But if I did, Wabi's website allows you to account for them, and then Wabi's website allows you to add like a number of mods as well, and then you can do stat tuning mods. So I of course want to have up to 5 major mods. Stat tuning I could enable, but that's just something I'll do myself. and then you just hit calculate builds, and it'll spit out a build like super fast. And so you can see using this combination of armor, a grenadier with a melee, a paragon with the weapons, a specialist, 3 specialist items with the melee tertiary, the final stats, and then you use 3 major super mods and 2 major grenade mods, it'll spit out these final stats. You'll have 25 health, 105 melee, 70 grenade, 100 super, 100 class, 100 weapons, which is a really good build for just like running around on Prismatic Warlock. So, and Wobby's website also always gives you, I believe, 3 builds that it recommends. And so this is a fantastic tool. And as I mentioned, I'll have everything linked down below. Now, Brandon's website looks a little cleaner. I will say that. Plus points there, Brandon. But I think it is a little simpler. It doesn't allow you to do things like set your fragments or set the number of mods that you're going to have or anything like that. It allows you to do tuning mods for tier 5. It allows you to do exotic armor and exotic class items, and you can pick like your exotic class item perks. But it's just a little simpler. So if you're more overwhelmed and you don't want to get into like the super nitty gritty, I think this is a really good tool for you. You also set minimums or kind of like averages that you want. So like I want 25 health, 100 melee, 100 super, 100 weapons, and then you know, somewhere in the 70 grenade, 70 class area. And then you can lock things as well, where it sets things as a minimum. So I definitely want at least 100 melee, 100 super, and 100 weapons. So I'm going to lock those, and I'm going to leave the other ones kind of free floating. And then I'm going to find optimal builds. Now, this one does seem to take a little bit longer. That was actually super fast compared to tests I've ran in the past, but it gives you a ton. I think it spits out 10 options for you to look through, which is really nice. But solution 1, you can see it will end up giving me 25 health, 100 melee, 70 grenade, 110 super, 75 class, 120 weapons, which is like actually pretty much the exact build that I run. And it tells you exactly how to do this. 3 paragon armor pieces with a weapon tertiary, 1 specialist armor with melee, 1 specialist with grenade, can accept any tuning mods as well, so it's flexible. And then 3 grenade majors mods, a super major mod, and a weapons major. So both of these tools are awesome, and I wanted to make sure to shout them out because it makes build crafting easier than ever. Now, as you're going through, I'm about to flashbang you guys, so prepare your eyes. As you're going through and you're farming things like Solstice. Solstice ends today, unfortunately, but there will be other opportunities to get a ton of tier 5 armor. It's going to be very beneficial for you to start tracking what you already have. Because tier 5 armor is so deterministic, it doesn't really make sense to keep like 2 paragon armor pieces with a health tertiary. It's just, you know, they're probably going to have different like stat tuning slots, but just pick the one that you're most likely to use. We don't have enough vault space, and builds aren't really that intricate where you're going to need to keep multiples of like every version of these. You just need 1 max of every archetype with every tertiary. This also will allow you to this is a spreadsheet that I'm going to share with you. Sorry, forgot to say that. This was made by my friend Shrimp. I think I made some small changes, but like 98% of the work was done by Shrimp. So I'll have a link where you click it and it'll share it with you down below. And it'll just help you track your different archetype armor drops. I would specifically only use this for tier 5, but you can use it for whatever you want. And let's say like, okay, the last website showed me I need 3 paragon armor pieces. I can go through and say, okay, I need 3 paragons with a weapons focus, and, you know, outline this cell in a special way that will like let me know like, hey, this is a specific armor piece. Sorry, I'm an Excel guy. I'm not a Google Sheet guy. Like, hey, this is one that I really want to make sure that I have on my different armor, on my different characters, right? So go ahead and change those colors. I just messed that up. Bam. And so I know like, hey, when I get this to drop, oh, this is when I was tracking. This is really good. And just remove some of the extra legwork of having to like write stuff down. Bam. So that's really cool. This does have a tracker based off of your character. So Warlock, and then it's also got like all the different armor spots. So Warlock, Titan Hunter over here on the far right. I'll have this link down below. Awesome resource developed by Shrimp there. Another thing a lot of people were calling out in the last video is Destiny 2 Armor Picker. Now, the last video and the first half of this video is about, hey, let me think about what stats I want. Now that I know I want those stats, how do I decide what armor to farm? If you have a ton of armor because you've been farming Solstice for the last 2 weeks, Destiny 2 Armor Picker is a very powerful tool. It has always been a very powerful tool, and it will allow you to say, hey, I have these things. I have, Solipsum, or, this is specific exotic. I want to include exotic armor. I want to have these specific, let's go ahead and put on prismatic. I want these specific fragments. There's a lot of other caveats here that you can look through. I want to assume everything's masterworked, etc., etc. And then based off of the armor in my vault, how do I make the build I want? So as I mentioned, I usually want 25 health, 100 melee, 100 super, 100 weapon. And then I can, I'll put that in and it'll be like, hey, these are, if you want this build, this is how you get this build, and that sort of thing. So it's pretty cool. It is, this uses like the actual stuff on your account, so you do actually have to like sign in and that sort of stuff. But hey, if I like this build, it tells me exactly what armor in my vault that I can use to get it. And then I can like copy the dim link. I can go over to dim, be like, hey, I want to find those specific pieces of armor. Bam. And then it'll show me exactly where those pieces of armor are. And I just put those on to achieve that build. So Destiny 2 Armor Picker, a lot of people were mad I didn't mention it in the last video. It is a great website, but it only works with stuff that you currently have, which in the pre-planning phase isn't that useful. And then the fifth and final tip that I want to use is YouTube and Twitter. The great thing about tier 5 armor is so deterministic. So if you like my Warlock build, hey, here's the fragments I'm using. And most importantly, you see the stats I'm using. This is a specialist with a melee tertiary, 2 gunners with a melee tertiary, and 2 paragons with a weapon tertiary. That was a lot easier. And then I just use my exotic as like essentially a paragon armor piece there as well. So if I, for instance, saw DeFizzle's latest video and I'm like, oh my god, DeFizzle's cooking with his Uber grenade build right now, how do I get those stats? And he happens to do this in the video. Now you can copy his exact build. And he also goes over the fragments in the beginning of the video. You can see them all there. So it's more simple than ever to literally just steal someone's build. If you like my Crucible setup, there you go. You can figure out what tertiaries I have behind the scenes. It should be easy enough if you look at the mods I'm using, and go from there. So it is so easy to go through and like rip someone's build one for one and know exactly what to farm to achieve it. So those are my 5 tips for this video. If you have any more tips for anyone down below, feel free to leave them down in the comment section. If you'd like to see me make a video on anything else regarding Armor 3.0 or tier 5 armor or stats or anything like that, let me know. I've got tons of stuff planned. I'm really excited. Make sure to subscribe for that. Have a fantastic day. I love your faces, and I'll see you very soon.